Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pop Review. I am Sean. I'm going to be your host for this panel discussion, and we're going to be talking about Coming to America 2. So, this is a spoiler review. So, if you guys have not seen the movie, please go out and watch the movie. It's on Amazon Prime Video, or in some. Well, actually, it's not in theaters. It should be, but it's not. So if you haven't seen the movie, please go watch it and then come back and watch our review. So join me for this review from Miami. Soul, how you doing, Soul?
Doing good. Ready to talk. Coming to America with you. These lovely people. We have the lovely Aisha with us this time. I'm so
Hey.
excited she's here.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm ready to talk coming to America, and I have my McDowell shirt on to represent.
Mc,
I hear it's
McDowell's, and then
McDowell. Yeah, what is
from
that?
across the pond, Bogz. How's it going, Bogz?
Yes, people, or more good. Thank you very much for having me. This obviously the second sequel. Long. It's for me. It was like waiting for like family members that you haven't seen for like 20 years. You're like, oh, I wonder how these guys are doing. And so it was nice to be back in the world. And yeah, can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, so how we're gonna do is we're just gonna first give our overall thoughts of the movie, and then we'll start breaking it down, character and scenes. I'll start with our newest person to this channel, Aisha. What were your overall thoughts of coming to America?
Well, I have unfortunately a lot of issues with this movie. I thought the cast was amazing. I thought the performances were great as well. But that's pretty much when it starts going downhill. I wasn't a fan of the story. I wasn't a fan of all the cameos. And overall, I thought it was just kind of boring and not very funny. So yeah, not a fan of this one. Sorry, Eddie.
I have similar thoughts to you, Aisha. Very similar, but slightly different. But I just want to let's go around the horn though. So, your initial thoughts of the movie?
So first off, I want to give the costume designer Ruth E. Carter like all of the praise in the world. The costume design was beautiful. She is an Oscar winner for Black Panther. She's also worked on Dolomite Is My Name, Chirac, Selma, Black Dynamite, Four Brothers, Malcolm X, etc. So she's killing it in the game. I hope that she gets nominated for these costume designs because they were absolutely beautiful.
Agreed.
Wesley Snipes was probably my favorite part of this entire movie. He was hilarious in it. But I'm kind of on the same vein of Aisha. There was moments that they didn't hit the mark. I could see the idea. It was almost there, but it just didn't hit the mark for me.
Mhm.
Yep. I mean, I'm again similar thoughts, but slightly different. But Boggs, what do you think?
I have to kind of disagree. I thought it was really, really good. I wasn't expecting to say that afterwards. I was expecting to be what you guys are saying, but no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. I had to, pause it a few times because I was laughing so hard. Like some jokes in this which I'm going to come to in some scenes. I don't think other people will get some of the things that I find that funny. Like for example, my mum she's from Africa, born and bred in Africa, come to UK. These stories like I just identify with. Uh, you know, uh, Whether it's immigration or whether it's settling in another country, a refugee, whatever that kind of thing. I just have them stories in my family, so I naturally find these things kind of, especially African culture as well. So I think I just have a soft spot for these kind of stories. I just find it really funny. I was smiling the whole way. I thought it was really sweet. I actually got emotional right at the end. So like I did really like it, and like I said, some scenes I was laughing so hard. So I can't wait to get into it. But no, I pretty much enjoyed it.
Oh, that's well because see, like your background just kind of colors how you look at the movie. So I completely understand what you're saying.
Maybe, yeah.
For me, I feel similar to Soul and Aisha in the sense that I was expecting a lot more from this movie, and the story really let me down. Like when I saw the first trailer, I was super pumped. I was like, yes, this looks great. We're getting back into this world. And then I saw the second trailer, and it kind of scared me a little bit. And then seeing the movie, it came to fruition that like your story was just super lacking. I agree with Aisha in the sense that the characters and the scenes were great, but every time that movie tried to tell the story, I was just like, oh god, it just didn't work for me. So speaking of the stories, let's kind of that could be our starting off point. Just the story of the movie. So the movie takes place pretty much 30 years after the original. Akeem is still the prince. There's him and Lisa are still together. The father, the king, is on his deathbed, literally. Come to find out that like all those scenes that he shot in that bed were shot separately from everybody else because he didn't really want to travel. So that's why you just see him in the bed and then they cut back to them because that was done separately. Which when you watch it now, it's like, oh, that's very interesting. So he's literally on his deathbed. The general Izzy is trying to invade Zamunda from Nextdoria, which was like, once I heard that title, I was like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. And so now he's trying to invade because he doesn't have Akeem doesn't have a son, and then they revealed to him 30 years ago you actually did have a son, and we got that flashback. So we'll kind of stop it from there, kind of Bogz. So at this point, where are you at with the story of like the reveal that he has a bastard son and how that came about?
I'm totally in from here. Like I think I enjoyed the first half of the movie more than the second half, to be honest. So like seeing these characters that we haven't seen for 20 plus years is like just having, it was like a weird family reunion type thing. Especially like you just covered numerous things that like I thoroughly enjoyed James Earl Jones in this. Like seeing him, I've not seen him act like this in how many years, right? So it was nice to see him and him going back and forth with Sammy, you know, telling him to stop sucking up to me and just in his bed and things like that. I really did wish though Akeem grew out his hair a little bit, because you know, like Arsenio Hall did, like he just has like the more natural look, which is like more synonymous with Africans and things like that. I just wish Eddie just grew out his hair a little bit. I was just thinking that the whole way through, because that's how Akeem has his hair, right? A bit more grown up. But yeah, covering that scene when, you know, James Earl Jones in his bed, I thought that was one of the funniest scenes where that priest guy comes in and the way he's spitting at that Sammy, I thought it was hilarious. Dude, just spitting for like seemingly no reason. I just thought it was hilarious. And of course, the general coming in, you know, I think that was I wish we had more of Wesley Snipes. Everything that he does now, he does these little kind of supporting roles, and I just wish they have more of him. Like he's so good in this, and Dolomite Is My Name, and Chirac, I thought it was good in. But yeah, I thought he was so funny, and just even his entry with that Michael Blackson in it, and I thought like just the general choreography of how it looks, and the funeral scene, and the dancing. It obviously Soul addressed the costume design, but also the set design, and like I said, the choreography I thought was nice. Yeah, I thought his daughters looked great, especially the eldest one. I like her costumes and the jewelry that she was wearing. She needs to be in Black Panther, by the way. Black Panther 2. Like, I thought she was that good.
Agreed.
I mean, I think a lot of these were auditions for Black Panther 2, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. And yeah, like the actual as well, like, I don't know, it's a bit of a side thing, but the whole Wesley Snipes introduction scene, I don't know if anyone remember, like, for example, Michael Jackson is my favorite all-time artist. One of my favorite songs of his is called Remember the Time. And it's a music video, you know, set in Egypt, ancient Egypt, and he's like has to entertain a pharaoh and the queen. The queen is played by Iman, who's a Somali, you know, model, supermodel, which is the country that my mum's from. And the pharaoh is Eddie Murphy, and the way he behaves in this movie is exactly the same as how he behaves in these scenes with Wesley Snipes. So like the way he kind of sits in his chair and he's like doing this with his eyebrows and like stroking his beard, and then he sets the kind of guards on Michael Jackson, and I think the guards are Magic Johnson and that Debo from Friday. But anyway, yeah, it's just like the way like if anyone would know this stuff, like interviewers and stuff, I'd love to know his kind of thought process, because that was directed by John Singleton, so that was a whole kind of bunch of talent there. And now coming into this movie, I just saw direct reflections of it, and I just love the kind of the way Eddie was behaving there, because it was like a straight copy out of that. But no, overall, I absolutely loved the first half of the movie. I did find it a bit weird when kind of James Earl Jones asked for the funeral now. Like when he was still alive, and then
let's say that we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But Aisha, your thoughts about just kind of like how the movie kind of set up, what the inciting incident was, and kind of going into right before the funeral type.
So this was my biggest issue with the film, is how Lavelle was conceived. So essentially, they were implying that Eddie was drugged, that Akeem's character was drugged, and then he was raped, pretty much. And that's how he has his son. Interesting. Okay. So you're saying that the only way that you could possibly have a son is that you run into a lady, she's brought back, she drugs you, and then she rapes you? Okay. So I had a huge issue with that, especially because, you know, Sherry Healy, she's a beautiful woman. She aged gracefully. She's gorgeous in this movie. She didn't have a lot of moments for me. I would have liked to have more moments from her, but she's beautiful. But she has that, if you would say, she's light-skinned Black woman. Right, thank you. She's a light-skinned Black woman. She has more Anglo features. You know, you can argue that. But then we have the mother, Mary. She's a darker skinned woman. She's bigger. She's from the hood, and then they're making her seem like she's not very intelligent. So to me, there was a little bit of colorism in the film that really threw me off, and it was reinforced even more when I rewatched the film. And I just didn't like that at all. I think that we've come a long, long ways from the 1988 movie, and I think that it could have been a little bit more modern. So I thought that was a huge missed opportunity on Eddie's part, and I was really disappointed with how they went about that whole scene. So, you know, big issue for me, big issue.
I mean, I 100% agree. Like when we started to learn more about the movie and the fact that we were going to learn that he had a bastard son, that always was a sticking point. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this movie if I don't like how they explain that he had a bastard son. And you could have went about it in completely different ways. And the way they chose didn't sit well with me. So what were your thoughts about that decision, and then just everything else that's kind of set the movie going forward?
That was one of my biggest issues too at the very beginning of this movie. It's just the issue of consent. And they could have handled it in a much different way. They could have even had it completely done the same way, and that's how he had his son, and addressed the issue later. And they completely ignored that issue altogether for the entire movie. And that it didn't sit well with me. So that's the part where it was mostly the beginning that I was like, okay, that's how we're doing it. And we're not going to say or address it at all. Okay, that's where we're going.
Yeah. I mean, they could have easily just stole his sperm or something like that and just like conceived him.
He could have been a sperm donor, you know, like it could have been. Yeah. There's so many different ways they could have done it.
That could have been how he paid rent. Like, he had to go be a sperm donor.
That would have been great. And then, you know, somehow they're like, okay, you know, we need to find the son. And they, you know, it could have gone a completely different way. And you have Leslie Jones. She's such a huge talent. She's a wonderful comedian, and you don't use her properly. You know, she was referred to as a bore. She referred to herself as a hoe. She didn't know who LaBelle's father was.
You know, I was a hoe back then. Like, y'all know that. Like, when she said that, I was just like, it was funny when you first hear it, and then you hear it again, and you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, and then it keeps going on and going on. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand that they're from Queens. I understand that, you know, she's a little bit more hood, but there's a lot of women that are in the hood that are very intelligent, that are very intellectual. You know, and we could have brought her character up to be this hardworking single mother, you know, that just happened to have this son out of wedlock. However, it was brought on, and we could have had some really dope moments with, you know, going into that. I don't know. I feel like it was a huge step back. Like I feel like this story was dated. You know, Eddie said that Ryan Coogler came to him with a really great story that involved Michael B. Jordan, but essentially it would have been following him finding his queen. And then the title Coming to America would have made sense because we could have followed his son and Hakeem bonding together back in Queens, and him going through and seeing the changes to Queens and all. It could have gone a whole different way. So I just thought it was a missed opportunity. I'm like, when are we as a community gonna like come together and stop promoting like our own like stereotypical ideology? Like, when are we gonna stop this from happening? Because in the first movie you have Leslie, yes, she's from, you have Lisa, yes, she's from the hood, but she's very intelligent, she's very well spoken, but she's from the hood. That's perfect, wonderful. Bounce off of that and keep it going. So yeah, Aisha wasn't happy with that.
No, and I agree. Like it, and the way you said it was dated, it seemed like the Leslie Jones character was from the 1990s. And I didn't necessarily like the fact that it just seemed like she was in a different movie than everybody else. Yes. And I don't know if that was a choice that she made or the direction she was given. Yeah, but more or less her, because she's in it more than Tracy is. So I can almost tolerate his performance a little bit. I can tolerate it, but because she's put in our face, especially in the beginning, with the hi Queenie and like, I'm sorry I slept with your man, is like, are we back in 1998? Like, because that's where her performance is like, she like came straight out of Martin.
Yeah.
No, but it just sounded like she came out of Martin. I was like, are we doing that? And like her chemistry with like their chemistry together just seemed like when they were in scenes together, it just felt like we're back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Aisha, that I wasn't a fan of her character and the way she played it. Also, just again, like I would have liked it. I would have found it more interesting if they would have done something like if Akeem had a son, and they were kind of doing a mirror image of the first movie, where he then has to marry somebody, and then his son, who grew up, goes to America again, and then they spend up. It's coming to America, not coming to Africa. Like they spent very little time in America. They just kind of bookend it. Like they go there, they find him, he goes back, and that's it. They're barely in America at all. So the fish out of water element, which was a big part of the first one, is completely missing here.
Right.
There is no fish out of water here, and I think that was part of the charm and the allure of the first one. Seeing these guys out of their element completely, like admiring people throwing trash out in the street, and there's clothes getting stolen. All that stuff is completely gone from this one. So just the idea of how they handled that element just was really wrong. Bogz, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, but I think it is there. So I don't totally agree. Like the fish out of water scene things are there, but it's the other way around. So when he goes to Africa, basically, and his whole family there, they're all fish out of water. Again, it's not the same. It's not as I don't know. It's not as just good as they do it in the first, of course, but it still does it. So I did get that, and obviously all the rituals he has to do and everything. So and all the tests he's put through and the lessons he has to learn about his culture and that kind of thing. But yeah, just obviously going back on what your guys saying. Yes, there's a clear obviously debate here about the consent stuff. But just before that, the actual flashback scenes I thought were done great. I thought the effects were good. I thought the CG was good. I was shocked to see that the additional stuff that they've done, and especially Arsenio Hall, like he looks almost exactly the same. Like I couldn't tell sometimes like which was newer shot stuff or older shot stuff. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was like, I think that's why I didn't concentrate on this scene too much, because obviously the whole club stuff, I was like, oh my God, they've done it. And then it's kind of a quick minute thing, and then the story moves on and they don't really discuss it again, as you said. So for me, it wasn't like an everlasting, it didn't kind of, like hang over the whole movie, because obviously it was weird, of course. But yeah, I just thought it was a part of the flashback scene, and I was like, oh yeah, what happened there? And then it just kind of, the story moves on. So that's why I didn't obviously dwell on it myself, but I do understand what you guys are saying completely.
No, I hear you. I just wish, like, again, and that was part of my hiccups going forward. If they didn't get that right, I was gonna have a hard time liking the movie, and I didn't like that, and so the movie didn't. I was trying to play catch up ever since, like, once I felt like, oh, this is how they did it. This was kept under wraps for 30 years. Like, okay, I'll play along. Like, really?
Yeah.
How did his dad know? I don't know. Like, so Simi told his dad, but didn't tell Akeem. Really?
The magic of the
I
priest.
don't.
He just knew.
I don't
Somehow.
necessarily buy that,
Yeah.
but whatever. And Akeem just like never thought about that ever again. Like oh yeah, that rhino that kind of attacked me. Never brought it up. Anyway, so getting past that, moving on, the funeral scene. So his dad is on his deathbed literally and just like, oh, I'm gonna be dying soon, let's have my funeral now, which I thought was like, oh, this is touching. And then they start having all these guest performances. They had Salt and Pepper and In Vogue and like Gladys Knight, and I'm just like, whoa, like they went all out on these cameos.
Wow.
And then he just like is like, Hakeem, I'm gonna die now. And he just died. And I'm just thinking, is this a fake out? And then it wasn't. He was dead. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Oh, yeah, Morgan Freeman was there too. I was like, wait, what? I was like, that makes absolutely no sense just to kill him that way. It was a weird choice. I was just like, you could have had an emotional scene and then just have the funeral.
Yeah.
And the same things would have came across. So, your thoughts on the funeral and that decision?
So I think too, it could have been he died beforehand and you have the funeral, but then at the same time I was with you. It was super touching. Let's have the funeral now. He's there. He's hearing his love. And like, I don't know how many times we say give people their roses before they're no longer with us. So it was kind of one of those moments for me where I was like, I was totally in. I was like, this funeral is awesome. You're getting all the people out, all the cameos. This is great. And then like the camera pans to him. I'm gonna die now. And then like it pans and it holds on him and you think, oh, this is a fake out. And this is hilarious if it's a fake out. And he can die after the fact, but like missed opportunities there. Like what I said at the beginning, missed opportunity that could have been a fake out, that could have been a hilarious scene, but no, he just died. Mm-hmm. And it was a very weird and awkward moment for me. And I was just like, man, you were going up and hitting the strides, and then it just like fell flat right at the moment for me.
I mean, but they played it like it was a fake out. Like the fact that he's like, I'm going to die now, and his head, and it lingered there. I'm like, yeah, he's gonna just pop up and like scare him or whatever, and then it just never happened. Aisha, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm with you. So I thought it was a fake out too. There's a scene in Shrek 2 where the Frog King dies. And then he keeps coming back and keeps dying. And that's one of my favorite scenes in Shrek 2. And I thought that it was going to be the same thing. I was like, oh, okay, he's about to come back. And then he didn't. I'm like, wait a minute. So the only time we're seeing him is in the bed. He's pretty much insulting Hakeem, telling him he's not manly enough. He's too soft, blah, blah, blah. Then we get the funeral. The cameos were great. I actually enjoyed the cameos. The costumes were gorgeous. Of course you have to have Morgan Freeman. I was like, all right, cool, yeah. And then the dude just dies, and there was no, like there was no like last, son. I know I've pretty much lowered your self-esteem your entire life, but I love you and I'm proud of you and blah blah blah. No, just I'm out. It's like, all right, cool. Moving on. So yeah, that was another one that took me out of the film a little bit. It was okay. It was okay.
Yeah, Bogz, your thoughts before we move on.
Yeah, same kind of thing. But again, with this, like they give me a high and then it ends on something weird. So like I did enjoy like his funeral thing. To actually ask for it, yes, it's definitely weird. But then when it happened, you see Morgan Freeman or the cameos, and it looks great, it sounds great, you're kind of enjoying it. And then like I 100% thought it was a fake out. And then, but I think that was, I'm assuming it was an intentional thing. Like they've done that as a part of the joke, as a part of, it's a weird death scene. Like he's just lying there and then he just goes like that. So yeah, it's definitely weird, 100%. But I did have a good time in the funeral part. So I forgive him for it.
No, I had a great time during the funeral too. Like you could have still had it. I think what we're saying is like it was a weird choice to make to have him ask for it and then be alive during it and then just randomly die in the middle of it.
But I think that was a part of his character, like a selfish king. Like he proved to be throughout the whole story. Like it's all about him and what he wants to do. I think that was just summarizing this scene, to have his own death scene, how he wanted it on his terms. Although silly as it is for us, but I think that's kind of aligns with his character. So
And I think it was perfect to have that funeral with him alive, because that's just who King Jaffa
Right.
is. And so
Yeah.
that part made sense to me. I think having him die later on, or like they could have even done like a funny thing where like the coffin falls or something, like they could have made a joke or something along that line. But like it just was just a
Yeah, and then the way he didn't just like fall over, he just kind of just like,
he stood there.
Why wouldn't he?
He's already in the coffin. And stuff.
Yeah, that was just the setup was just really weird.
Chat, we were like, if he actually died, he would have fallen forward, and that could have made the scene even a little bit better for me too.
Yeah.
But he was standing there.
That would have been great.
All right, so then once he dies, then there's I see Wesley Snipes' character, General Izzy, pretty much is like sees an opening to like, I'm just gonna like push my agenda here. For what reason? We really don't know. He just wants to marry his son to Akeem's daughter. Daughter's not feeling that, so he's like, all right, well, if you had a son, you could marry my daughter, and then that would be cool. Otherwise, I'm gonna kill you. Why? We really aren't really told why. But basically, Wesley Snipes is having, and Bogz, you alluded to it earlier, he's just having a ball during this movie. I think he's having the best time shooting this, and then it's just his scenes and his way of playing it were great. Obviously, there was stuff in the trailer that got cut from the movie, but I actually just wanted to see more of him, and I actually wanted to see him be a little bit more menacing and threatening. He just came across as like, I like what he's doing, but I'm not scared of him at all. I'm not worried about Akeem or anybody. Like they were like, there's a scene where they're saying like, oh, they're coming to the castle, they're storming the throne. I'm like, yeah, and then they just open the door and let them in. I'm like, you just let them in. They're not storming anything. You actually opened the door and they came in. So it was just, again, the story just kind of let the movie down. Like Wesley Snipes' performance was great, but I just think his character didn't have enough bite in him. But that's just me. Aisha, what do you think about General Izzy?
I agree with you 100%. Wesley Snipes as General Izzy, he was actually one of my favorite parts of the film. I thought he was hilarious. His accent was terrible. But yeah, you're right. He wasn't menacing. He wasn't scary. I didn't feel threatened. I was like, okay, whatever, so, and then when they brought out his son, it kind of even lowered it down even more to how goofy, the situation was. It was like, okay. So yeah, it was fine. I didn't really have this part. I really didn't have an issue with it. I'm like, okay, if they want to put this in the story to, set things in motion, great. Let's go for it. And then the topics within this story, we could have really delved into it and, had some moments with Eddie and his daughter and, especially the sexism that's going on. We could have really gotten into that, into the juices, but we didn't. So I was like, all right. So again, it was a blah moment for me. It was fine.
Yeah, a little bit. Bogz, thoughts on General Izzy?
Yeah, I really liked him. I think that's a part of a part of the lightheartedness of the movie is that you don't like, although they seemingly, he comes in with the army trying to, invade the country, right? And then they come in and then they're just like, hey, with each other. That's just a part of the story. It's a part of the movie and part of their characters, like the whole lightheartedness of it. And then the whole time, and what Aisha there just saying about Akeem not listening to the females. He's not listening to his wife. He's not listening to his daughter, who kind of who has the best intentions for him and for the country. And I got all that. I got all the story kind of arcs that they were doing. Yeah, sometimes you want to see more of that. You want to see it differently. But I appreciated that. So I'm seeing the story thing with his daughters. I thought, okay, they're going to come back with that. I'm seeing the stuff with Wesley Snipes. I'm just enjoying it. And like I said, his whole introduction, I'm thinking that they remember the time stuff. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Soul, your thoughts?
I'm with Bogz on the part of like I didn't need to see Wesley Snipes be more threatening. He's the best character in this movie. He's hilarious. It's a fun time. He's having the best time of his life, and you can tell watching it, and that's why I think I gravitate to his performance so much. I just wanted more of him. Like we needed more Wesley Snipes.
Well, I mean, the only reason I wanted him more threatening because they were presenting him as threatening, like, "Oh, I'm going to assassinate you if you do not do what I was like." If you're going to play it that way, then make it more menacing. You could easily play it like, "If you don't have this arranged marriage, I'm going to cut off trade or something." Just go another route, which is a little bit more comedic, which would again fit more with the character. But then you're talking about this assassination thing, like that doesn't kind of fit with the rest of the vibe of the movie. That's just kind of where I was coming from with
vibed with me because he's like, "I'm going to kill you," but it was like in a funny way. So that part, like I was laughing at it because that part gelled for me of the movie, which like he's being threatening in his words, but not in his action. His actions were funny, and him and his next door were dancing and having a good time. And it's just like it was like, you know how they say like don't trust the quiet ones, they can be the most menacing. He's putting on a front of just like having fun, but he probably could murk you the second you like go off. So I think that part worked for me.
And seeing him later, I totally agree with you. That's one. And seeing him later being a warlord, with the kids and stuff, and then even being playful with that stuff. Like he's never gonna be. That was not his character, right? To be menacing, like to be to appear on the outside to be menacing, but really he's just as as awkward as Akeem or these. That's what I saw anyway. But yes, I do understand that they could have done that a bit more serious, but no, it was perfectly fine for me, to be honest.
Well, not necessarily. I just think like take a different approach. Like, don't mention the assassination thing. Just say like, "Hey, we're your biggest ally, and if you don't do this, I'm gonna cut off trade, and then Zamunda will be like short whatever." I don't know. Like, to me, the threatening thing just didn't work because he's like, I was not once concerned about him whatsoever in that aspect. Not once. Even when they had the fight at the end, I'm like, yeah, he's not menacing enough. They're going to defeat him. No problem. He's not a threat.
You know what it reminded me of, Chef? Sean. Chef. Yeah. Okay. You know what it reminded me of? Sean. There's this comedian named, I think his name is Jeff Dunham or something like that, but he has all these problems. Yeah, there's one character that he has that's a skeleton terrorist, and I think his name is like Ahmed.
Ahmed the terrorist.
Yeah.
I
kill you.
Every time Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes is 100% Ahmed the dead terrorist from Jeff Dunham.
I kill you. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, and with that idea, just like it's a set for kicks. So it's just like I'm going to go back to planning me killing you. It's like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so moving on from that, like, so obviously they go to America. Mm-hmm. They meet Leslie Jones's character. They find the son. Obviously they're like, oh, I don't need a handout, whatever. And then Semi drops the gold and the money. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll go with you. And then they bring him back, and then he kind of introduces, the family to his son. And like every time they showed him with these damn Timbs on. Like, I know that's a thing in New York. I know. I had a pair of Timbs when I was growing up in New York too. But it's like they just rammed that home. Like, that's just something that was like, it stood out to me big. I don't know if it stood out to anybody else. But that's just like, all right. I know, it was like enough with the Timbs, because he kept wearing them as the movie kept like he would have other things to wear, not just the Timbs. Like, come on, get over it. But and then the fact that keep calling him a bastard, like, this is my bastard son. Hey daughter, this is my bastard son. It's like, yeah, we know he's a bastard. They just kept ramming that word home. Like, they just like saying the word bastard all the time. And then Leslie Jones like, we're just like the Kardashians. I just like, oh my god, get over. She just really annoyed me. I don't know. I just didn't like her character at all. And then with the bathing scene, it's just like, you're telling me as a 31-year-old man, 3 women come into your bedroom and say, we want to bathe you.
You gotta ask your mama.
And he's like, butt naked? Yes. And the first thing you do is you go talk to your mom? Really?
Oh man.
I don't think so. That's not the first thing I would do. Eventually, maybe I would do that. Like, hey, mom, they wanted to bathe me, and I let them. Afterwards, not before. That's just crazy. And then they had the thing where she was getting bathed, so it was like, haha, you're playing off of the first one.
I did
get
laugh
it.
at that moment.
Yeah,
I did laugh, but it was very, very obvious the way they staged it. Like, yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. But I just didn't buy that. Like, yeah, mom, they want to bathe me. What should I do?
and she's
let them
having a
bathe.
conversation with her son while that's going on downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was very, very.
You go ahead,
odd.
baby.
So,
You go ahead.
yeah, we're in a different country. They have their own customs. You do
Why
you.
did
You
she?
do you.
Why did she only get one man though? Why did she only get one?
Well, in the original, there was only one woman that did that. There was only one woman that did that. So
I know, but he got 3 servants. Like can we upgrade? Where's the other 2 servants? You know?
Aisha wants to
true.
upgrade you.
Oh well, I hear you. But if you go back to the original, there was 3 women bathing Eddie, Akeem, and then there was only one that went down to clean his other
Real
regions.
planets are clean.
Yes, exactly. But this was PG-13, so they couldn't use the same words that they used in the original.
Yeah.
But just thoughts of just how when they brought I'm forgetting his name right now, what his character's name was.
Lavelle.
Crap. Lavelle,
Yeah.
yeah. How they brought Lavelle to Zamunda, which is just like, hey, we're this poor family from Queens. Oh, we sold money. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave with you.
Yeah.
Not knowing that there's proof of anything because Leslie Jones' character doesn't know for
Nigerian
sure.
prince is, offering
just-
you.
Yeah, they just all take it at face value. Like, yep, well, I guess that's your dad. I guess this is my son. Nah, no, we won't get a DNA test or anything. No. So, Bogz, what do you think of all of that?
I thought it was really funny, man. Like, I mean, I'd go.
Oh, I'm
I'd
just so
go.
optimistic. I love it so much.
That's it.
I just wants to go to Africa.
Yeah, I guess, or America. I guess so. He just wants to go to one of those two.
When they land and they see him, loads of Star Wars references, by the way. I don't know if anyone else got them. They call him a young Jedi.
Yeah.
They call him there's a Jabba the Hutt reference, there's a Jar Jar Binks reference.
Jar
So I
Binks.
loved all that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
And like seeing how he's like a struggling guy, he gets the job interview with the Dukes' grandson. I thought it was really cool.
I did like that.
Yeah, nice reference there. And yeah, he kind of stood up for himself there. And then obviously he shows like, he's a hustler basically trying to sell tickets on the black market, whatever. And yeah, and then obviously he goes to the barbershop scene, which I loved. They're talking about, obviously in the first movie he talks about Tyson. This movie's talking about Pacquiao and Mayweather.
Mhm.
And, the fact that they're talking like, and, Mayweather won for the blacks. Like, I just thought, what are you talking about? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm pausing and I'm laughing so hard because I'm not expecting these kind of jokes. And, people like, reviewing the movie or critics, they're not going to find these jokes funny, but I will because this is ridiculous. Like, and then Mufasa Kuta Kinte and all this stuff. Like, I love that kind of stuff. I'm not expecting this kind. Obviously, you saw it in the trailer, but yeah, like some people are not going to get this kind of humor, but I will, and that's why I love that kind of him going back to America, seeing all these people again. Yes, I absolutely loved it, and seeing the family. Yeah, I do have slight issues with them overall, but I found I like the mother. I like the Tracy Morgan character. I even like I forgot the other lady's name. I think it's one of their sisters, the slightly older one that I forgot her name. I've seen her in a lot of other movies, but yes, I did like that. And then I agree that they're all going to go because they are. Because I'd go as well, like if it was me, and milk it for what it's worth, kind of thing. So, and then obviously they're clashing with the other kind of kids as well, and calling him the bastard son all the time. That's just a part of the humor. Like his name is the bastard son. Like everyone addresses him as the bastard son when they introduce him and stuff. So yeah, I did. I absolutely love the barbershop scene in particular. So yes, it was completely fine with me because I was laughing the whole way through. So I can forgive the little story arcs that don't 100% make sense or don't fly with me or have issues with because I'm laughing the whole way through. That's what comedies are like, right? When it makes you laugh so hard, you forgive things. So yeah, I was laughing through it, especially the barbershop scene. I loved it.
Well, yeah, I do agree. When you do laugh, you do kind of forget things. But for me, it was like I'm laughing, but then the slower parts of the movie, I'm not laughing, and the story is not connecting as well. So that's where I'm getting at. So What are your thoughts about bringing Lavelle to Zamunda?
So the parts in Queens was, other than like Wesley Snipes, which was the best part in Zamunda, like just going back to Queens was the best. The barbershop, like Bogz was saying, hilarious. I love too. Tracy Morgan goes, Zamunda, Wakanda, Connecticut. I don't know where she's from.
I love that.
That was funny. I agree with you, Sean. I just didn't really like Leslie Jones' character that much in it. But then I also agree with Boggs of the whole, like, that was the humor of calling him a bastard. This is my bastard son. It played back in the beginning of the movie when they're like, good morning, father. Good morning, father.
Exactly.
Like, each one are saying, and it plays off the original movie, like, where that's just the way they introduce and greet each other. So that part, I didn't have a problem with that. I was actually laughing at that part. I was laughing at the barbershop stuff. I was laughing at all the Queen stuff. The only issue that I really have is Leslie Jones's character, which she did what she could with what she was given. So like, I don't put it on her. It's just, I don't think she was written well in this movie.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Aisha, your thoughts?
Yeah, I echo Boggs and Soul, the Mighty Sharp scene back at the old stomping ground. That was great. And what was the most funny was, technically, all these guys should be in a grave right now.
Oh yeah,
it's like they aged up and make
the old 30 years ago. Yeah,
for sure. They should all be
just
dead.
a little bit, but they still pretty much look the same way. They're still sitting in the same seats. It's great. The pictures on the wall, the Kuta Kinte reference. I thought it was hilarious. I laughed pretty damn good in this scene. And then of course, Hakeem finds his son. He just walks up to him, hey, you're my son. And then he takes him back to me and his mom.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you're my dad, I guess.
Yeah,
He
this
just
guy's
says,
saying,
okay, no questions, no DNA test, nothing, And then, of course, once the money's dropped on the floor, yeah, we'll go. Okay, yeah, so.
Yeah. All my stuff, you can have it, guys. I'm out of here. It's like,
yeah, let's get it. So, I thought that was wonky, but kind of funny. But I thought it was a huge missed opportunity to not show the plane ride to Zamunda. Like you're on a plane, you haven't seen this woman in 30 plus years, you don't know anything about this son. Let's have a moment on the plane where you all are having this awkward conversation about what went down, how it went down, and what's going to happen once we get to Zamunda. I thought that was a huge missed opportunity. That would have been so hilarious to have them on the private jet or however they got there, and have that awkward conversation. I thought that would have been great.
They could have had a fun moment.
Yeah.
About Leslie Jones and I forgot the guy's name, but Lavelle Johnson, whatever. Sorry, and I do find it quite sweet though, like what you said, Sean. Like he's asking his mother. He's telling his mother about the things, but I do quite like their relationship in a weird way. Like I did think it was quite sweet. They seem like best friends kind of thing. So I do understand that it's not realistic, but I find it quite sweet. It's straight out of the 90s. You are correct. But yeah, I like the way like there were, the uncle and the mother, and it was definitely old fashioned 100%. But I find it sweet. I'll say that.
No, but Boggs, you could still have that exact same moment. He just goes there after it. Like, Mom, you won't believe these three women just bathed. While she's bathed, like, you could have the exact same moment. Just have him go after he got bathed. Like, Mom, they just bathed me. And then she'd be like, oh, baby, they're wearing it could play it the exact same way. Like, oh, baby, we're in a different country. They have their things. It's all good. And still get the exact same joke. And I think also another missed opportunity was in the barbershop. You could have easily had them try to reminisce on when he was last there, because there's no way those guys would still be alive, but that you could whatever, but there's no way they would remember them. They've only been there like for maybe a week or so. 30 years later they come back, it's Mufasa, like you remember them from 30 years ago. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I like
barbershop trope. Like that's the thing. You're remembered. Everyone's remembered in the barbershop. Like everyone has a name, everyone has a nickname, everyone has a story. So if a prince walked in, I think they would have definitely remembered him.
No, but it would have been a cool way, like if their pictures were like on the wall, which it probably would have been, and they were like, "Hey, who are you?" And like, remember, I'm Kunta, and then he points it like you could just there could have been some good back and forth there that would have been natural. Like him just like, "Hey, remember me?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's Kunta." Like, but just to like automatically display, "Oh yeah, that's who it is." I think there was just a missed opportunity there for some more to stretch that scene out more because everybody loved the barbershop scenes from the original. Everybody did. And I just think we didn't get enough of that. And the opportunity to end that was sitting right in front of them, and they didn't take it. That's just that's just.
I see what you're saying.
It's just me.
I know. I just see the barbershop like a time capsule. You know what I mean? Like you never see these men leave. Like they're always there. Like it's like, do they sleep? Like, do they have mystical powers? What's up with these guys?
Soul food.
Yeah.
I do like the idea, like, oh, when they talk about the child support, like you ain't paid child support for 30 years and you came back? You's a dummy. And they was like, why did they put that in the trailer? That joke is so good. Don't put that in the trailer. Anyway. So Lavelle comes to Zamunda. Obviously, they set up where he has to do these trials, which apparently Akeem did. Just you never brought up, whatever. I can get over it. You have to do these 3 trials of learning the culture and courage and culture, courage, and I can't remember what the other thing is called, but the test of manhood, whatever. So he has to do those things, and then they have to kind of teach him how to be princely. So they're teaching him all the history of Zamunda, and that's also kind of fun, just kind of seeing him stumble, and then he meets, I can't remember the character's name, but once she showed up, I was like, all right, I know exactly where this movie's going. It was just so really obvious to me, like, oh, yeah, he's going to end up marrying this woman. So that's when the story just like, all right, I could put that part of my brain on pause because story-wise, for me, I know exactly where this is going. Now I'm just in the movie for the jokes. But again, that's just me. But so what are your thoughts about just of them kind of the whole part of the movie where they're kind of teaching Lavelle about Zamunda, and then he meets
Marembi,
his future bride. Yeah,
Marembi.
Sorry,
Marembi, I think her name was.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. So your thoughts on her and that whole setup?
So this was giving me a lot of like the Princess Diaries vibes, which like that movie, Mia Thermopolis finds out that she's actually a princess, that her father was a prince, and that she has this whole country and has to learn how to be a princess when she grew up in America, doesn't know any of that kind of thing. So I was getting that vibe of like her training montage from that movie. I was getting that vibe for this as well. Yeah. So it's just one of those like training montages. It happens in a movie. There's good parts. There's just like, we're just going forward. I did immediately go, yep, he's marrying this barbershop lady. And I think too, I don't know if I liked it or not, where they were just making fun of sequels and remakes in general. Like when they were having that conversation, like there was moments that I laughed at it, but then I was like, was it really funny? I'm not sure. I don't know how I feel about it. So it was just it was an okay part of the movie for me. It wasn't like great. It wasn't bad. It was just somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that part was where you're poking fun at yourself. And then you're one of these movies, in my opinion, that was like, yeah, that sequel should never happen. Just leave the original alone. Right. But I like some of it when obviously he realizes that like, hey, I can't be the prince of Zamunda. I have to kind of like be the prince of Queens. And then he brought his uncle back, and then it's kind of like, hey, we're gonna do this kind of our way, and then him trying to put that swag into Zamunda type thing.
Uncle and Simi too, like the back and forth with and Simi was really funny for me
as well. Yeah.
And I actually did want a little bit more of that because their dynamic was pretty good, and the ZNN segment was fun when they were kind of like yelling at each other and like go get me a sandwich, Benson. When he called him Benson, he's like, who's Benson? You Benson. Like some people probably like don't know what the hell that joke is, but if you're a certain age, you get it. I don't know if Bogz got that joke, but Did you get that joke,
I didn't
Bogz?
know.
I got that joke.
Yeah. That's like a Captain America. I got that reference. But Aisha, your thoughts about just like that whole like training montage of him kind of then bringing him up to school on Zamunda.
I thought it was great. I had a lot of fun with this part of the movie. I was like, all right, cool. Let's get a little bit of laughs, and so I like that aspect of it. But I was still wanting that quiet moment where Lavelle and Hakeem sit down and talk. You didn't know you had a son for 31 years. You don't know anything about him. Let's have a quiet moment to delve into everything that he's missed. He's missed this man's childhood as a teenager and now an adult. Let's have a little quiet moment where we delve into that. So I was kind of missing that part of it, but whatever, that's fine. And then the sequence with Trevor Noah. I love Trevor Noah, so when I saw him on the screen with the mustache and the fro, I was like, this is great. I like that little back and forth sequence. I thought that
And he can do the African accent.
yes, and
Well, yeah, obviously he can.
a good accent. So I thought that was great. I actually thought differently about the barber. I thought that she was somewhat conspiring with General Izzy. Like, I thought there was some type of conspiracy going on with her, because she kept bringing back the fact that the women don't have any rights. They can't own their own businesses. They can't leave. So I thought somehow she was holding some type of grudge against the royal family, and she was going to come in towards the end, and there was going to be some type of rebellion or something. My mind just went to a whole different place, and it just ended up being so simple. They're cute. They're going to try and marry each other in a week. Okay, cool. But
Exactly.
I was like, oh, I think I even told you, Sean, we were watching. It's like, oh, I don't trust her. I don't trust her.
Yeah. And then like, yeah, let's get married. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Like, it's weird because in the original, it's the same thing, but the way it plays out in the original, like Lisa and Akeem had a lot more time together. Like, we actually saw them fall in love. So it's a lot more believable that, like, yeah, I actually do want to marry this woman. In this, they have like maybe 3 scenes together, maybe, and then now like they kiss and it's like, yep, I'm gonna take you to Queens and we're gonna get married. Like, wait, what? It just doesn't seem as believable, even though they probably spend the exact same amount of time, like in real time together. But in the first one, because the movie is really built around Hakeem going to Queens and finding his bride, that it seems more believable. Like, yeah, it might have just been a week, but they spent a lot of time together. Where in this movie, it's just 3 scenes. So it's not as, I'm just like, really? You want to marry this woman you've had 3 conversations. We see you have 3 conversations with, and you've kissed once. It's like, yeah, okay. Bogz, thoughts?
Yeah, I just remembered as well. Wesley Snipes' sister, the girl that goes, oh.
Yeah.
I just completely forgot about her. I just remembered. But yeah, no, you are right there, Sean. That where she gives him his pep talks about. I saw it as like giving him his balance of, you can't be someone who you're not. Like a little bit like Aladdin type thing, where you have to stick to who you are to be. You can't be someone else and all that. So I understood all that, and he was building the relationships with, the other daughters and going doing the tests and stuff. I thought the things with the lion were kind of cool. I thought you've seen that elephant again that was in the original. I thought the CG was decent on it. Yeah, there you go. And for me, doing the whole circumcision thing and the guy cutting it off and eating it, I was like, what is happening? And then, that was like a fake out. I was like, no, that's not real. Like, yeah, no, I fell for that. So yeah, that was I do like all the trials and stuff. So again, there are flaws I can pick in it. There's some things I don't agree with, but I'm having laughs throughout the whole way through. So yes, I was enjoying the trials and stuff, and and like you said, the Sammy and Tracy Morgan's character going back and forth and stuff. So yeah, no, I just like spending time in this world. So yes, I did like all the trials, definitely.
No, I like spending time in this world, but no, go ahead, Saul.
I was gonna say it was that sweet moment too that you have like a brother and sister moment as well in there, and I found that moment moment to be really sweet and
Yep.
kind of just like okay, they're coming together. And it makes sense because she's lived in Zamunda all her life, so of course she's gonna like be like, who is this random American coming in taking my spot?
Mhm.
But then they have that moment together, and I thought that was very sweet and played really well.
Yeah, speaking of the daughters, I just wish that we had a lot more time with them, like because they're in the movie. Obviously, the oldest is being groomed to take over, even though that the law says she can't. She was still being groomed to do it, which seemed like kind of weird. Like, oh, I'm gonna groom you to be my heir, but you're not really gonna be it. But like in the first, like one of my biggest issues with the sequel was the fact that this whole movie is premise is that I need a male heir to take over for me. Where in the original, the whole idea was like you need to marry somebody else. You have to do an arranged marriage, and he didn't want to do it, so the dad ended up changing the law so that he could. So then, why wouldn't Hakeem just change the law to make his daughter take over for him when it's her turn? Like the whole movie forgot the original movie. Like, just change the law. No big deal. You're in charge. You're the king now. Just change it. No big deal. Like, yeah, that's tradition, but you're the king now. Just like how the mother told King Joffrey, he's like, yeah, but you're the king. You can change the law. Like, you could do it. And he did it. So, it was like, did you not learn from your dad? He changed the law to make you happy. You just changed the law to make your daughter happy. End of movie. Like, I know obviously it can't be as simple, but when you pretty much just break the movie down, it's as simple as just saying, "Yep, I changed the law," and he ended up changing it anyway. He changed the law at the end of the movie anyway. So,
But he had to learn the lesson though, Sean. Right? Yeah, that's the story.
but he should have learned it from the first movie because he was part of it. His dad changed the law to make him happy. He could easily just change the law to make his daughter and his wife happy because that's what they wanted. That's what they.
Movie, Sean.
I know, but I'm just saying.
They're coming to take over his country, right? He needs to kind of keep the general on his side. So, yeah, you're talking about bigger kind of overall story arcs that they should have done. But yeah, I think maybe we're being. I don't know. You're talking about general kind of movie arcs, which I do get. Yes, that would make it a better movie overall. But no, we didn't get that. So you're stressing too much.
No, I'm just saying that's my problem with the movie is that the characters are great, the set pieces were great, the costumes are great, the set designs all that stuff the dialogue was pretty good for the most part, but when the story itself just completely just kept as they kept going further and further along, it just kept falling more and more apart, and it's getting harder for me to give a crap. Like I'm laughing at certain points, but just overall, it just left me with a You built up to that, like when the original, like you think like, oh, he fails, like he's gonna have to end up going through this. He went through that entire thing. He has to still marry this barking lady, and then like no, the reveal like, oh, it's Lisa. Like that's a powerful moment. This movie doesn't have that. You know what I mean? So I shouldn't compare it to the original too much because the original is just a classic.
No.
Anyways. But so obviously, they do that trope where Lavelle overhears Akeem and Izzy talking about their thing, and he gets mad, and instead of talking to Akeem to figure things out, he just ups and leaves. He takes his girlfriend and his mom and his uncle, and they go back to Queens to get married. Why at that point they need to get married? Don't know. And then Akeem finds out. He goes to back to Queens to try to stop them and just explain to things like, if you want to follow your heart, that's up to you. I'm not gonna stand in your way. That kind of thing. Just kind of like how my dad didn't stand in my way. I'm not gonna stand in yours. And then they bring them back to Zamunda, and then we find out that he actually is going to change the law and let his daughter rule in his place, and Lavelle is just going to be an ambassador to America. So everybody's happy. End of movie. I mean, that's basically how it ends. But again, just the overallness of it, the movie just is. The movie just deserved a better script. If this script was anywhere on par to the original, it's not out of the realm of possibility to say that it could have easily been on par with the original if the script was better, because the chemistry was there, the ingredients for it to be a classic were right there on the table. It's just that script let everybody down. So that's where I'm at. So what do you think about like how the movie ended? Any thoughts on that?
I was gonna say it didn't let Bogz down.
Apparently not.
I'll come to mine.
I'll live on that island alone. I'm fine with it.
Sure.
The ending didn't bother me. It was just it was predictable, but it was still a good ending and to the movie of what the movie was. I liked seeing sexual chocolate because now someone even better, and they have sex, and then they also bring up the twins of my name is Peaches. Like they bring them on. I was just like, oh shit, I didn't think they were gonna come on. So like I liked that cameo too at the end. So like I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed too. Like you have Lisa and oh man, what's her character name? Mary. Lisa and Mary's like their friendship that they've gained at the end too. So like it was cute. It was a good ending for what the movie was, which the movie was kind of in the middle for me. I'm in between. Sean and Aisha on one side, Bogz is on the other. I'm in the middle.
Aisha, your thoughts on how the movie kind of wrapped up there?
It was predictable. I thought it was fine. I assumed that the reason why they got married so quickly was so she could become a citizen of the United States. Maybe because I was like, why would y'all get married so soon after? But I assumed, I was like, well, you're taking her back to the States. She has to become a citizen. I don't know. So I just assumed maybe it had something to do with that. They didn't really go into detail. So I thought that was fine. The scene with Tiana Taylor, I love Tiana Taylor so much. She's such a talent. And of course, they repeated back to the original movie with the barking and the wait right here. And she's standing there like an hour later and blah, blah, blah.
Whatever you like.
We forgot to mention the like random like musical scene like in the middle of the movie when I'm like, all right, cool. They're gonna start rapping. All right, cool. Whatever.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that pretty much was just like, yeah, let's push the soundtrack. I was like, okay, you want to do that? Okay.
Let Tiana Taylor be Tiana Taylor, and I was here for that.
And all her glory. I was like, all right, cool.
I was like, all right, cool. And it's funny when me and Aisha were watching it, and this scene came. I was like, oh, are they gonna do like the picture at the end with this? I was like,
yeah, the end.
They set it up. I was like, oh, they're gonna take a still shot of it, but they just did that and then didn't do it.
That's such a 90s, 2000s trope where, you have the little, the party at the end, everyone's laughing and singing, and then we take the picture, and then But yeah, I agree with you, Sean. The first movie laid the groundwork for the fact that Hakeem, he was giving everything his entire life. He's a prince, everything, all the decisions were made for him. The only decision that he wanted was who he was going to fall in love with, right? So then fast forward to the second movie and you're setting up an arranged marriage for your daughter. And then when she doesn't want to go through with it, then you're going to set up an arranged marriage for your son who you don't even know. So yeah, that kind of threw me off a little bit as well. And there's just something about Eddie Murphy and John Landis, like their chemistry, like Trading Places, Coming to America. There's something that, I think that's what we were missing. There's something about those 80s, 90s movies. There's this like dirty grudginess to them. Like I don't even know how to explain it other than the look of it was just kind of dirty and grungy and, kind of edgy. And this one was a little bit too polished for me. The how the movie started, the middle, the end, it just was too fairy tale wrapped up in a tight bow. And I needed a little bit more conflict in the movie, especially with the General Izzy issue. That was just, okay, so the oldest daughter, played by Kiki Lane, which she was amazing. She kicks his ass, pretty much. And then Hakeem's like, all right, I'll change the law. It's like, well, why couldn't you do this in the beginning of the film. So yeah, I mean, it was fine. Again, the costumes were beautiful. The ending was what it was, and that's all I can really say. It was fine. The whole movie was just fine for me. So.
And then they did the '90s trope where there's like, oh, the black people dancing. They gotta do the electric slide, of course.
Yeah,
You have to do that. Break into that. I was like, okay, all right.
Do black people do the electric slide in the UK?
do, yeah, of
That's
course,
just an
of course.
American thing.
No, it's a everything thing.
Nice.
Yeah, at weddings, you just have to do it.
Birthday parties, yeah. It's
Yeah,
always
but I like Wesley Snipes. Just like him doing this, and they showed it in the trailer. I was just like, Wesley Snipes was just having he was just having a great time throughout this whole movie.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I just wanted more of him. Bogz, your thoughts of I like obviously I think Soul is right. Me and Aisha are on one way, you're on the other side. Soul is right in the middle. So I know you're gonna. This movie can do no wrong in your eyes.
a little bit, yeah. So I'm quite cynical, but with this movie, it got me, man. Like going when he goes back to America to get his son and stuff. Obviously, that barbershop scene again, where they're almost straight away where they cut on the one that's sitting to the kind of end, and he's eating his chicken and rice, and then he's saying like, I don't know about you guys, but I love black women. And then he's like, oh, when I'm having sex with them, the darker they are, the better. Where you need a flashlight. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is not in any other movie. This kind of humor, like I had to pause it. I was laughing, so it's so random. And then Akeem walks in, and then obviously they crack the continuity jokes again or whatever. But that kind of random stuff, like I'm like, what is going on here? Like only Eddie can get away with this kind of stuff. And then, but Sean, you mentioned that like his father, like gave him permission to marry. I forgot his wife's name. Lisa, yeah. But no, that wasn't the case. And this is why I like the ending, is because it was the mother who gave him the permission. His mother kind of brought balance to the story at the end of the first movie and told James Earl Jones' character, be quiet, go after the woman you love. And this is the same thing that happened in this movie where the McDowell's guy, sorry, I forgot his name. When they sat down, Chloe. They had, he's mopping. Yeah, and he goes, oh, don't you remember your mother? And literally, I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about his mother and the whole story. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, she was the most sensible one, I think, out of all of us, he says in the movie, or something like that.
Yeah, the wisest,
and, yeah, the wisest, yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, she was. And he remembered that's why, these are the kind of tropes that I need to install in my son, that what my mother taught me. So I need to listen to the women in my life, mm-hmm. which brings balance to the whole story. And I thought, oh, yeah, if you listen to your wife, if you listen to your eldest daughter, then that would have brought a balance. And I thought, and I could see what they were trying to do here. And obviously he goes back and, gets his son and then takes them back. And I honestly, I thought, yeah, it was all fine. It was all, very 90s ending, as you said. And then for some reason, as soon as I saw the blue suits in the sexual chocolate guys, I got a bit teary-eyed. I don't know why. I just wasn't expecting it. And Randy Watson came out, and obviously the barbershop guys were there, and I just got a little teary-eyed. I didn't drop any tears, but like I didn't drop any ghetto tears or anything. But I was like a little bit like, oh my god, I wasn't expecting that, and it was just a fun little send-off. And yes, no, I did like bringing the mother back in because the mother was not mentioned the whole way through the story. Yeah. And I was like, oh, they just dropped it there. So yes, I did like the heart in the end of the movie. And even the fight stuff, the girl, the eldest daughter, I thought she really good, the stick and stuff, a good technique. Yes, so I did like all that, a lot of heart there. And yeah, and I was laughing until it finished. So yeah, no complaints from me. If you noticed, I've not compared anything to the first movie. I'm not going to do that. We've had Coming to America since before I was born. Watched it so many times, one of the funniest movies of all time. And then to compare it to this, I don't think it's fair. This, I just thought it was lighthearted fun. Was it funny? Was it nice to see the characters back? Yes. So that's all. That was good enough for me. Was it a 10 out of 10? Obviously not, but it was definitely fun, definitely worth a watch. And yeah, I was laughing throughout. So that's all I wanted, and I got that.
Well, I mean, even if you don't, I hear what you're saying, and it sometimes is unfair to compare a sequel to the original. But even for me, even if you don't do that, the movie isn't that good. It's worse when you compare it to the original. But if you just compare it to its own thing, it's still funny. And some of the jokes you have to watch the first one to get. But if I just plat someone down and say, hey, watch Coming to America without seeing the original, some of those jokes would just kind of go right over their heads, where you're supposed to be laughing but you're not. So it is
really
a lot of the jokes are predicated. Sorry.
I was saying we really should have gotten Preston on here because he hadn't seen the first movie when he watched the second.
Yeah, and he liked it. A friend of ours. So
I would have said I would have liked to see Daryl when they went back the second time. Daryl or maybe Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Where was Patrice?
Yep.
The other sister.
Patrice is the other sister. Yeah. I was waiting for them to show up. I was like, are they in Zamunda? Are they running thing? I thought she was gonna be running McDowell's in America.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought they were like, McDowell's was still gonna be in the same place, and she was kind of like running that, and Daryl was there. And they got married and had some kids or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't touch that. Apparently now Eddie was like, oh yeah, we'll do Coming to America 3 when I'm like 75 or whatever. But now because the movie has done so well, it was the most, Amazon is saying it was the most watched movie during the pandemic of this year. So now they're thinking about, oh, maybe we should do Coming to America 3 sooner than when I'm 75. So would it surprise me if we see Coming to America 3 in the next 2 or 3 years? Nope.
What do they do?
I don't know.
The story.
You know what? No matter what they do, Eddie, listen to me. No matter what you do in the third film, if Ryan Coogler gives you an idea, take his idea. It's like, how do you say no to Ryan Coogler? Black Panther, Fruitvale Station, Creed. Like, how do you miss that opportunity? I'm sorry.
Ryan Coogler hasn't had a miss yet. So
he hasn't. He hasn't. He spent 4 years on the script. It's like, give the man, let him direct. Let Ryan Coogler direct. Like, let's get this done the right way.
It's funny, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. It's funny how you said that because that's the same thing how Creed got made. It's like Ryan Coogler had that idea for Creed and pitched it to Stallone, and he said no. Then he made Fruitvale Station. And then Stallone saw that, and he was like, "Oh, I better listen to this guy, and let's revisit this Creed idea you got there." So it's like, yeah, Eddie, maybe the guy's got a nice track record. You might want to listen to.
But I do like Craig Brewster though. Like some of his other stuff, like Dolomite is my name. I don't know if anyone's seen that. I thought it was really good. There's a couple of movies as well. I forgot off the top of my head, but I do like his work. To be fair, but yes, who doesn't want to see a Ryan Coogler Coming to America movie?
Yeah, and if that meant bringing Michael B. Jordan in, I'd be all down for that. Like, imagine if that was his bastard son.
I was about to say that, yeah.
Sign me up for that. Call him bastard 20 times in the movie. I don't care. All right, so
if you have Amazon money, you can pay for Samuel L. Jackson. I know he's expensive now, but
exactly where Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, I thought he was there.
Yeah, he could have easily popped in there. Well, it was still Paramount that paid for the movie. Amazon just bought the rights to distribute it, but it's still a Paramount movie. So
and they
the
bought
third
it
one
for
will be made.
Price too. Yes.
They bought it for like 125 million, around that. So, yeah, I think Amazon has got their money's worth, and so we'll see where the third one lies. But it's probably gonna get made for sure. What they're gonna do in the third one, I don't know. He'll have a bastard daughter somewhere, and then they're like, "Oh, you got to do something else." I don't know. But before we go, let's just rank the movie at 1 out of 10. I know Bogz is gonna be super high, so I'll let him go last. I'll go first. For me, again, I was looking forward to this movie from the moment it got announced, and then I saw the first trailer. I loved it. Second trailer kind of disappointed me, and then watching the movie, I'm like, these elements are there. So for me, I'm gonna go 6.5. 6.5. I want to go higher, but I can't do it.
That is higher than I thought.
That's higher than I thought. Yeah.
Well, because there's parts of the movie I really, really enjoyed. I was laughing out loud, not as much as Bogz, but I was laughing out loud. But there was just certain parts where I was just like, all right, get to the funny part again, so I can laugh again. So 6.5 for me. So
I think I'm gonna give it a point higher than you. I'm gonna go 7.5.
Oh, very nice. Okay, very nice. Aisha.
I think I'm just gonna get a solid 6. You know, I had too many issues with this movie, and on top of that, we didn't see Eddie Murphy that much. Arsenio Hall wasn't in the movie that much. I would like to see them a little bit. I understand that they were stepping back to give the other comedians, you know, their time to shine, but I would have liked to see them a little bit more, and you know, all the other issues that I have. So yeah, just a 6. 6 is the best I can do.
All right, and Boggs, I'm seeing I'm guessing an 8 or 9. I think you're gonna
No,
say.
I'm quite surprised. I think they were all quite higher than I'd would have predicted. So to be honest, I'd probably give it 7.5. For me, that's a good ranking. Yeah, like I can't give that an 8 out of 10. Like that movie, I don't think so. Laughs wise, maybe, but overall, no, I think that's too high. I'd give probably the original probably 8.5 out of 10. So like for me to give it an 8 out of 10, it wasn't that good. So you know, 7.5 I think is fair. That's why I was expecting you guys to go a bit lower. But no, I'd probably give 7.5. If our arm was twisted, maybe an 8. But that's pushing it. See, I don't even believe what I'm saying there. So probably 7.5.
Interesting. I thought you were gonna. I was either.
You guys are generous.
8 or
I thought he
9.
was gonna say an 8. Yeah.
Well, I'm only being generous because the chemistry is like I said before, the recipe of a great movie was there. It just didn't come together. So I can't fault it.
Great, you know?
Yeah, I can't. If the performances were bad, then I'm thinking like more like a 4 or a 5, but or maybe even lower than that. But the idea again, everything was there, minus the story. It was great. Like if this was just like some skits, like if this is like on the Chappelle Show, and you just showed it to me in segments, I probably would find it way more funnier. But as a movie, it kind of let me down. So that's our thoughts on Coming to America. I don't know if I like just call it Coming to America 2. I don't know. Well, whatever. Because you can't do that with the third one.
That's the Spanish title.
All right, so that's our review on Coming to America 2. I'm just gonna call it that. I don't care what they say. So what are you guys' thoughts? Did you like the movie? Did you not like it? Please let us know in the comments below. Also subscribe to the channel. We're gonna be doing some more interesting things going forward, which we don't want to really quite announce yet, but we'll see. You'll see in time. Also, we're just gonna be doing a lot more Falcon and Winter Soldier reviews going forward as those shows start, and then kind of all the Marvel shows that are coming out this year, all 4 of them that are scheduled to come out. So look forward to that on the channel as well. So for myself, Soul, Aisha, thank you for joining us. Most likely we'll be seeing more of you on the channel soon. And Boggs, this was PopReview, and then we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye.